Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to yet another episode of our Vanilla Minecraft series. Episode number 4, if I'm not mistaken, and yet again, here we are in our giant mushroom cave. Now, at the end of episode number 3, I said that I wanted to wrap this project up today, and that is still the plan, though the to-do list on this cave has gotten a little bit longer since then. In addition to a few new builds that I want to put down here, and some extra details that I want to do, there's also a few big additions, things like changing this entire mushroom, for example. As I said in episode number 3, this is just not quite as big as I wanted it to be. It's definitely big, it definitely suits its purpose, but I wanted it to really fill up the cave. So we're going to go ahead and just remove the entire cap, expand the stem up a bit, and build a roughly 66% bigger mushroom in its place. So that should be cool, and then, these freaking guardians. And then we will go ahead and finish up the rest of the cave and call it there for this project, at least for the time being. Don't worry, we will be seeing more of it in the future. There's other projects I want to do down here, but for right now, this will be done. Now, unfortunately, the replay mod still hasn't released. It's waiting on a proper version of Forge before they actually release the full mod. So I can't do all of the fancy camera angles as I do this, but we can still get some decent shots thanks to this little guy right here. And I do mean little guy literally. Look at this little fella. This is Murray Cam, this is my camera account, and I made him a new skin today, and I think that it is quite fantastic. It still makes me laugh every time I see it, I just can't help it. Anyway, this little guy is going to be following me around as I build down here, and getting some good camera shots for all of you. Hopefully he does a good job. And yeah, I'm going to go get to building. Hopefully this cave turns out well and everything works out. Hopefully the cameraman does his job. And I'll talk to you guys when it's done. So, do you guys think our giant mushroom is giant enough now? Because I think it probably is. So, it is truly monumental. It does what I wanted it to originally, which is to kind of dwarf all of these other mushrooms. As big as they are, I wanted one that just kind of made all of them feel smaller. And that is what this does. It just feels monumental back there. So, that's pretty cool. I like it a lot. Now, after I built that, I also added that tiny little mushroom coming from the wall over there, and I considered adding more of those to the walls in some spots, but at the same time, I really like this kind of dark cave wall aesthetic that we have, so I really don't want to go overboard with that. Now, we might add a couple of them in the future, but for right now, I think we're going to leave the cave walls as they are. I also added in this, which is a fallen mushroom. It's a little hard to tell. It might look like just a blob of color if you don't kind of use your imagination a little bit, but overall, I think it looks pretty cool. And I did actually think of this when I was first making the cave, but I discarded the idea. I didn't think it would turn out very well. But Raylion actually suggested it, and it made me kind of reconsider trying it at least. And I'm glad that we did, because I think that it's an interesting bit of detail. I may even want to add one more somewhere else, because it's kind of cool. I did try to make it look like it was decaying into the ground a little bit. And I added these brown mushroom blocks because I felt like just laying on the mycelium and having no visual sign of anything changing on the ground would be a little weird. I don't know if brown mushroom blocks were the best call for that. I had them on hand and thought it might work. They're okay. They're okay. We might leave them. I might try something else. I might try like soul sand or something. But for right now, that'll do. So with those things changed, I think that we're going to call it done on this project, at least for the time being. There are more things that I want to do down here. I want to probably add a little bit more detail in some spots. There's still some very large kind of empty areas that we need to do something with. But for the time being, I think it's okay, and I think we should probably move on to a new project. So, don't worry, we will be visiting this cave again. We have more to do down here, we have more projects that are relating to this cave, and we'll come down and visit Princess Peach from time to time as well. Princess Peach, by the way, got some fan art, which was quite unexpected. It was really cool to see that. So, I'm sure she's happy about that. Anyway, like I said, we're going to call this project here for right now. But before we leave, I did want to take a look at some numbers involving this project, because I was curious. So I did a little bit of MC Edit analyzing of the number of blocks that are in this cave, and the number of blocks used to create it, and I want to share some of those with you guys. So, when we very first blew up this cave, back in episode number 1, and we cleared a bunch of space using TNT, that was 5,096 TNT. In total, which is a little bit crazy. That's a double chest and a half of solid TNT. The cave floor, now that the cave is completed, is made of 4,189 mycelium blocks. The mushrooms, the stems of them at least, are made up of 1,087 snow blocks. This is not counting the snow layers that we use to hide the lighting. And the caps of the mushrooms, which are made of stained hardened clay, are in a grand total of 5,534 blocks. Now, 2,000 of those, 2,281 to be specific, are in that one giant mushroom in the back. So, honestly, that one mushroom in the back is nearly half of the total volume of mushroom cap in this entire cave, which is absolutely insane. So I thought that that was really interesting, getting those numbers and seeing how many blocks really went into this project. Now then, with that, I think that we can move on. I think we should head up to the surface of my island because we have a new project to work on. So I'll bring you guys back in once we're up there. So here we are on the surface of my island, which we're probably going to be renovating quite a lot in the near future, so it should start looking pretty cool soon. But first, we want to bring a little bit more life to the island. Currently, there's only one thing that adds life to the surface. When you're walking around and you see little glimpses of horses walking around. And for some reason, we have quite a group going on right in here. Normally, you only see like 1 or 2 at a time. Anyway, having those guys walking around makes the surface of the island feel a bit more alive and dynamic. I like having little things that just add motion. So I want to add some more stuff that does this. And we have a few options for that. Obviously, the new parrots added in 1.12 are a thought. I'd also like to have 1 or 2 wild ocelots running around. I think that would be pretty cool. And I also think it might be nice to have a couple rabbits. Now, we don't want to cover the entire surface in living stuff. We don't want to go overboard with it. We just want it to be, you know, you walk around and you see something every once in a while. So I think we're going to try and get a few rabbits here today. And that's going to be fine, but we're going to run into a bit of a problem. And this is the problem that we're going to run into anytime that we try and transport anything to or from our island. And that is my nether portal. So my nether portal is in this conspicuous hole here, down this cave, and as you can see, we're entering a nethery area, and here's my portal. So, I like my portal. I like my portal room. I went with the nether overtaking the overworld kind of look. And we need to be a little careful down here. My buddy Jerry here is a little bit of a meanie. He'll totally wreck our face. So, anyway, I meant to kind of make this place look like it was in the nether. And I think it does that. I think it looks good. But it's a little bit hard to traverse. In fact, I've had players die when trying to come and visit me. They got stuck in my portal and kind of fell out and landed down there, and Jerry wrecked their face. So, that's not great. And obviously trying to transport rabbits through this isn't going to go very well either. They'll probably just hop right off the edge into a fire and, well, I'll have cooked rabbit. So, that's not going to cut it. And because we're going to run into this problem repeatedly, I think that we should build something to solve it. Obviously, we could just throw down a temporary portal, as I've done in the past, but that's not really a cool solution. It's a little bit lazy, it doesn't look very good, that's not really how we do things here. So instead, we're going to use this area here and try to create a toggling portal system. We'll either have this one up here on, or that one down below on, and this is the one we'll use if we ever need to transport stuff across the island. Now, this area wasn't originally dug out for it. This was actually where the transportation hub for my island was meant to be originally. But sadly, that concept had to get thrown out because Mojang kept breaking my designs, and now it's no longer possible. So instead, we're going to use this for our portal system. Now, it is going to take a little bit of modifying, and by a little bit, I mean quite a lot. We don't want to just have a cube. It needs to look much more cave-like. So I'm going to get to that, and then get to building our kind of aesthetic covering over our portal system, and I'll be back with you guys in just a little bit. So, as you could tell from that little clip, we have the replay mod again. Very excited about that. Unfortunately, a storm passing through my area kind of cut me off, but other than that, it turned out good, and I think so did our portal room, for the most part. It's not quite done. We still have something to do right here, and we have this area back here to do as well at some point. The reason I didn't do it quite yet is this big ol' mess right here. This is, despite what it looks like, actually natural generation for my island, and I originally didn't want to change the island. I wanted the island to stay its same shape. I just wanted to make it naturey instead of mycelium. But I've since decided against that. And I think in the near future, we're actually going to be doing some pretty hefty landscaping and making things look a whole lot cooler around here. And part of that is going to be redoing this cliff face and kind of making this look more natural. But I don't want to do that right now because then I'll have to deal with the whole thing twice when I come back through and do the rest of the cliffs. So, once I do the rest of the terraforming and stuff like that, then I will finish this cave up. For right now, though, let's take our attention back to our portal room. So, I think overall it turned out pretty cool. The overgrown look is a frequent staple, of my island. And actually, come to think of it, I don't think I ever quite explained the concept of my island to you guys. I kind of jumped right into the Mushroom Cave project and never really got to explain the rest of my island to you. So, my island has a bit of a theme to it, and that theme is that everything was built by some ancient hidden civilization. And what I mean by that is there was some group of people, some fairly advanced group of people, that were hiding away from something. Who knows what? Maybe another group of people, maybe a giant sea monster, who knows? But in order to do that, they hid the vast majority of their structures underground. And now I'm here, however long later, just kind of using what they left behind. Now, that's basically the general overview of my island, and I give myself little stories like that because it helps me tie everything together. It helps me keep one big theme across the entire build. So that's why this is like it is. We have like these stone statues and a carved out face and stuff like that. Those are recurring themes. These are things that we're going to be doing quite a lot on my island, and you'll notice stuff like this quite frequently once we start looking at other stuff, which, don't worry, we will be doing quite soon. I know quite a few of you have been asking to see stuff like that. So, anyway, as for our portal room, in the back here, this giant stone face that I mentioned, we're actually going to call this guy Janus, named after the Roman god of pathways and portals and stuff like that. And we're calling him that because he's going to be handling our portal for us. He's actually going to be igniting it and kind of putting it out and controlling the portal down below as well. And I think that'll work out pretty cool. I think it's going to be pretty neat. The way he's going to do that is we're going to give him a little bit of a tribute. Probably something like a golden nugget. And once we give him that, he'll wake up and he'll light our portal for us. Or put it out, depending on what its state was before we threw in the nugget. Now, in order to do that, we're going to throw that nugget in right here, where this block is. And let's actually build a little bit of a altar. That's the word I was looking for. Something like a so. Just something super simple. We don't want it to be big and bulky. So we'll come up here and just chuck in a little gold nugget in right here. He'll wake up, ignite our portal, or put it out, do the inverse to the portal below, and we should be good to go. Now, that is going to take quite a bit of redstone, so let's go ahead and get to that. So now might be a good time to give you guys a little bit of a warning on how I handle redstone projects. So when I do redstone, first off, it's normally to do something pretty weird, like make a giant stone face that wakes up and shoots fireballs. Stuff like that. It's very rarely something that's just, you know, the high-efficiency farm of some kind or anything like that. Normally it's something kind of quirky. That's usually what I like doing with redstone. And that means that, one, I don't have these, like, predisposed designs to work with. I can't just Google stone face shooting fireballs and get a good design. And two, when I'm designing it myself, I don't really aim for the max compactness or the max efficiency or anything like that. I'm not really one that worries about stuff like that. It's really the end result that I'm after, not so much the functionality behind the scenes. So when I'm building something like this, I'll just kind of work through the problems one at a time. And whatever the result may be, that's kind of what I go with. And unless it needs to be faster, unless it needs to be more compact due to something else, I normally don't bother. Even if I could see a way to improve it, it's normally fine, as long as the end result, as long as the actual functionality is how I want it to be. So I figured I'd give you guys that little warning, just so you know that when I build stuff like this, and you might see some inefficiencies and some, like, bulkiness to it, a lot of the time I actually realize how it could be improved. I really just don't care. So, that's my little explanation for my redstone stuff. Now, let's go ahead and see how this worked out. So, I'm still working on the redstone down below, but I passed through the room for a second, and I noticed that a lot of my string has turned into, like, floating redstone components, and I don't know what to make of it. Like, there's a floating repeater, which, you know, there's pistons. These up here are also pistons, though they are headless pistons, which I don't even. I don't understand. That is probably one of the weirdest bugs that I have ever had in this game. Anyway, I wonder. Yep, I can even change the delay on the repeater. Okay then, I don't know if they're going to stay that way or not, but we'll see. Back to redstoning. Alright, so here's our portal room, and there's no more floating redstone components after I've relogged, which, that's good, though I still don't see any string. So that might be an interesting problem that I have to address in the near future. For right now, though, here's our portal room, and here's Janus, and here's how they're functioning. I love it! And boy, that's a loud portal. Let's turn that down a bit, shall we? So, that worked beautifully. I think this portal's probably big enough to transport a few rabbits through. What do you guys think? Anyway, hopefully at the same time that deactivated the portal down below, and when we do it again, this one should go off, and the one down below should turn back on. Hopefully. Assuming I have done things correctly. So, with that, I think this portal room is pretty much complete for now, other than some little building here and there. Let's go ahead and take a brief look at the redstone. I'm not going to go into too much depth on it, but just a quick overview for you guys. So, here's an item filter. This basically will allow golden nuggets to flow through. Each time a golden nugget comes through, it will power this dispenser, which is acting as a T flip-flop, and will power or unpower this repeater, as well as these other ones, every time that a golden nugget comes through. So that happens, and currently our face is in the off position, our portal's off and all of that. So if we were to throw another golden nugget in and it were to power, this line would go off, which would retract this piston here, that would open his mouth, and a few ticks later it would trigger this dispenser, which is the one that shoots the fire charges out. Shortly after that, this line right here is what's extending the piston up so that it kind of catches the fireball. You know, the little piston extends out to make sure the fireball doesn't fly off into infinity. This, oh boy, how are we even going to see this? The redstone continues up here, and I'm not going to go too much into it, but basically through a series of very careful timings, blocks are retracted and pushed around and stuff like that, and that's what swaps the eyes in and out. I don't want to bore you guys with all the details, because it would take a little while to explain, but here's what all of this is. And then, let's see, down this way, yeah, we'll do this. Down this way, and this will only trigger when the system is going off, I guess? Yeah, when we're turning the system off, when we're turning the portal off, that is when this line will get powered, and that will send a single tick through here, which will go up this observer chain and send 2 pulses, there's a little like repeating system up there, to a dispenser, which dispenses water, which is what breaks our portal. The other line over here, which I'm not going to follow because it is a nightmare, that leads over to my other nether portal and splits off and handles the igniting and kind of extinguishing of the portal. So, there's our redstone. Like I said, I don't want to drag that explanation out too much. We are also running a little bit short on time already for this episode. So, with that said, I think that we should get to it and go grab some bunnies. Let's do this. Okay, so I think that we have most of them. I think we're still missing one of the brown colors. There's a different variant of brown that I think exists, and I've looked, I haven't been able to find it yet. I'll probably search a little bit more at some point, or if it really comes down to it, we do have like a 5% chance when they breed that they'll give a random color, and we could technically get it that way. But I should be able to find one somewhere, I'm sure. Other than that, I think we have all of them, and there is one other one that's actually missing, though, and that, let's breed these two together here. There he is. Okay, so we are missing one more, and assuming this is still a thing... Oh, hey. No. Don't jump around like that. Oh, I'm not going to get him now. I'm going to hit the wrong one. Well, as long as I get one of the black ones, it should be fine. Haha, there we go. If you weren't aware, naming a rabbit Toast gets a unique skin based on someone tweeted Mogminer or something like that back in the day and got their own custom rabbit skin in. So that's that. We now officially have all of the colors except for that one brown one, and technically the killer rabbit, though I don't think that even exists in the game at this point. But I will breed these guys up a little bit. We're not going to use all of the colors here on the island. We'll probably only use the brown ones and maybe a black one. Maybe Toast. We'll see. Definitely not the white ones and most likely not the yellow ones. But we will keep them around. There are other things that we can do with rabbits that are a little more nefarious. But that's saved for a future episode. For right now, though, I think we're going to call it good. This episode's went on a bit long, and as is usually the case with these videos, I've pushed it a little too long, and now it's the wee hours of the morning again. So, we're going to call it here today. Thank you guys for hanging out with me. Hopefully you enjoyed the video, and hopefully I'll see you guys next time. So, thanks for watching, and bye-bye.